What is up, my fellow fight fans? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast, and I'm coming to you with a UFC Vegas 3 weigh-in recap. We've got Blaydes versus Volkov. It kicks off tomorrow. Just one more night till we get some MMA action. I couldn't be more excited. Let's dig into it. This was another day of weigh-ins, another great day with some good spots, some good information, and I am ready to pass that all along to you. Do me a favor real quick. You're watching this at Odds HQ on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and give them a follow over on Twitter at odds.com. Give me a follow at the Die Hard MMA Pod while you're at it. So first things first, we are going to kick the night off with Austin Hubbard taking on Max Rushkoff. Now, this is a fight that I went ahead and took a stab on. I am betting Austin Hubbard is a big underdog here. I simply see it as a 50-50 fight with Max coming in on short notice and then having the veteran experience on the side of Hubbard here, up a weight class. I just don't see how I can pass up that kind of juice. However, after watching the weigh-ins, I gotta be honest, I'm a little uncomfortable. I knew that Max was gonna be a big, strong kid, but damn did he look good at the weigh-ins. So part of the reason I pulled the trigger and made the bet was because from what I understand, he had a bit of an injury and he might be coming off the couch. He may not have trained for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So if that holds true, I still like my spot, but if that was misinformation, if that was a problem, well, we might be in for a rough one here on the first fight of the night. Hubbard seemed pretty good at the weigh-ins, a little meh though. He's not a super excited guy. He's not a guy that gets amped up and screams in the face of his opponent. So it's not really something I'm overly concerned with, but I didn't really see that spark or that fire that I was looking for either. So I guess we're just going to kind of have to wait and see how this one plays out. At this stage, I definitely think it's a dog or pass spot. I wouldn't be laying minus 180 on an unproven talent who's making his UFC debut personally, but I know a lot of people who do not agree with me in this spot. The next fight of the night, we've got Lauren Murphy taking on my girl Roxanne Modafferi, and this one, I couldn't really get anything from the weigh-ins. Both women looked phenomenal. I mean, Murphy looked great. She looked excited. She looked motivated. She looked happy to be there. Same thing with Roxanne. She looked like she was in the best shape of her life. We've talked a whole lot this last week about the extra muscle that she's put on, the strength and conditioning work that she's had. So I think Roxanne Modafferi is definitely going to be gunning here, but Murphy's no slouch, and she looked thicker from a muscular perspective than my girl Roxy, even with all that added effort put on there. So this one, we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. I do have a bet on Roxanne Modafferi myself, so we will see. It's going to be a tight one. Next, we've got Frank the Crank Camacho welcoming UFC newcomer Justin James. And I got to tell you, this was the maybe the most interesting spot on the entire card from a weigh-ins perspective. Frank the Crank missed weight. He came in at 158, so he is 3 pounds over the 155 weight limit, and I got to tell you, he looked bad. He looked sucked out. He looked exhausted. He really looked like he tried to make that weight cut happen, and he was the last one to weigh in, unless I'm mistaken. So he really gave it his best effort, which means he's really sucked out. He's really dried up. He's a decent bit bigger than Justin James, but Justin looked really good. I haven't had the opportunity or had the time to tape Justin James to see whether or not I feel like taking that dog shot on him, but right now, I'm definitely thinking dog or pass. We have got Frank the Crank way wide line here. He opened up at about a minus 250 favorite. He's been bet to minus 340, and we've got plus 280 coming on the flip side on Justin James. This might be a spot where the short notice guy has more gas in the tank just by looking at the way they were at weigh-ins. I need to go see what Justin James is capable of, see if he's a good match for Frank, and if that's the case, we may have a late spot to bet on our hands, but I wouldn't be laying this kind of wood with Frank, especially after seeing how he looked at the weigh-ins. Jillian Robinson versus Courtney Casey. My girl, Jillian. I am so stoked for this fight. And you know what? I lied when I said that last spot was the most interesting one on the fight. I kind of spaced what happened here. Jillian looked good. She came in, she looked easy, no business, like she was ready to go. And then Courtney Casey needed the hoop. Courtney Casey reminded me a whole lot of Jessica Evil Eye last week. She looked really slow, had a hard time getting up on the scale. When she was on the scale, it almost looked like she was using her elbow on the hoop because she actually came in under the weight limit. You don't use the hoop and struggle that way if you're going to be a pound or two under where you think you should be. So I think something a little fishy may have gone on there, and I think she kind of got away with a little something to go ahead and make weight. It was very, very strange. And then when she got on the scales afterwards and they had her hold the position and flex for 5 seconds like they do, she was shaking the entire time, had a hard time getting off the scale. It was apparent that she was in seriously bad condition. condition. I already had a play on Jillian Robertson. That line has gotten better for me, and because of this weigh-in, folks, I'm laying it again. I've got Jillian Robertson at minus 125. I'm hitting her again right now at minus 115. I've got a two-banger on my girl Jillian here. I fully expect her to be able to come out, get Casey to the ground, and probably even get that finish. And if Casey is struggling the way she is off that weight cut, we saw what Jessica Eye looked like against a grappler and Cynthia Calvillo last week, and she was in trouble because that gas tank drains even faster when you're dealing with the takedowns, and we got the small cage to work with. I am super confident here on Jillian Robertson. I like her. We've got a 2x play thanks to our weigh-in review. So I hope you roll with me here. Let's make some cash. Now we have Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Oscar Pichota, and I got to tell you, both these boys look locked in. They both are fighting for their jobs. They're both fully aware of the fact that they probably shouldn't have gotten this call, and they both absolutely need a win here. Both guys looked like they were in good shape. Size difference, not a big difference. They both got in each other's faces. Big intensity on both sides of things. This is a very, very close fight and could go either way, and really the weigh-in didn't change that for me whatsoever. I have no pick. I'm not going to touch it. My gut says Marc-Andre Barriault, but I can't put my money anywhere near this one. Tecia Torres taking on Brianna Van Buren. Van Buren, it's her second fight in the UFC, and I'll be honest, when she got up on the scale, she looked very nervous. She looked almost like she was relieved when they read off the weight, so I think she might have had a bit of a weight cut scare there. Maybe she thought she was going to come in a little bit heavy, that kind of thing, and you could see her visibly relax when they read her weight off. Torres, always in shape. She hits that 116, that extra pound allowance. She looked ready to go. And then when they faced off, you can tell she's the bigger woman in there. And that's kind of my angle on this fight here, is that it's the first time Ticia's been the bigger fighter in the cage for like 5-6 years. So I'm very much looking forward to that fight. Doesn't really change my opinion whatsoever. I'm gonna roll the dice. Bobby King Green versus Clay Guida. They went at it. Bobby Green has taken a personal offense, a personal stake in this fight. I guess Guida said some things about Nate Diaz, and Green did not take kindly to his boy being talked about. He looks like he is coming for some vengeance here, in serious shape, looked good on the scale, talking shit already, and then they got in each other's faces when they went into the face-offs. You know, they were talking shit from the very get-go, and Dana White had to separate them and give Clay Guida a little shove to get him off the stage because they wouldn't get out of each other's faces. So that's one that I'm very much looking forward to. Roosevelt Roberts taking on Jim Miller, and this is a fight that I am super intrigued about. Roosevelt Roberts is 160-pound catch weight coming in. No issues making that for him. He's got the short turnaround here, so I expect him to have a little more gas in the tank. He was ready to go in his previous fight, looked good, performed well. Jim Miller, as always, looked kind of the same. He always does. Not really ripped up. He's not really that kind of a guy. I still think he's only got one round of gas. We'll just see how this one goes. I like Roosevelt Roberts, the younger fighter, to get it done, and the size difference was apparent when they faced off. Bilal Muhammad taking on Lyman Good. Good looked huge when he got on the scales. When he first weighed in, he looked absolutely massive. And I have been itching. The trigger finger has been this close to betting Bilal Muhammad ever since this fight got announced, especially with the line dropping the way that it is. You've got Bilal at minus 125. I was interested in him at minus 160. Now that he's minus 125, I'm very interested in Bilal Muhammad. However, I thought, no way. When I saw Good on the scales, he looked too damn good. But then they faced off, and that illusion completely disappeared. Bilal Muhammad is face-to-face, nose-to-nose with Lyman Good. I expected Good to have a decent size advantage, and it simply wasn't there. So I'm this close. I may end up taking a stab on Bilal Muhammad by the end of the night, but it's a very close fight. I know a lot of people on Lyman Good trusting in that power bomb of his. I think the smaller cage and Bilal is going to be able to wrestle him and gas him out essentially over the course of the fight. But we'll see. I've got a lot of action on this card already, so I don't know that I'll end up pulling the trigger on that one. I definitely lean to Muhammad, though. Marion Reneau taking on Rocky. Rocky looked on point. She looked in better shape than I expected her to be. I think she's kind of checked out at this point, but I guess we'll find out on Saturday. Marion, however, looked solid. She looked good. She looked motivated. She looked angry. She got in the face of Rocky when they faced off, and she was intense. So that's one that I've been staring at very, very closely. All the money just flooding in on Raquel Pennington. I don't understand. This is a 50-50 fight. I know Reneau is older, but she's got that fire. She's got that intensity, and she looks like she is in better shape here than Raquel Pennington is. Pennington is a minus 185 favorite. Right now, you can get plus 160 on Marion Reneau, the underdog. I'm just going to sit tight because if I can get somewhere in the ballpark of plus 180 or plus 200 on Reneau, I'm going to have to take that shot simply on line value. I think this fight is going to go to a close, hairy split decision, and if that's going to be the case, I'll flip that coin with the extra juice. We'll see what happens, though. Again, same thing as before. I've got a lot of action already on the card. I don't need to add action on it, and I might have to attempt to punish the bookmaker for having a wide line if that one gets any wider. Co-main event, Josh Emmitt taking on Shane Burgos. Both these men looked on point. This fight is a pick'em for a reason. It's very, very close. Both guys were professional. Both guys came in early. They made weight right away. The stare downs were intense. They got up in each other's grills. Physically speaking, they both looked excellent. Neither of them looked too drained. Neither of them looked tired. This is going to be a banger. This is absolutely the fight to watch on this fight card, in my opinion, and I can't wait to see what happens. Alexander Volkov taking off Curtis Blaydes. Blaydes looked absolutely bored. Just business as usual. He's just doing his thing. He didn't look sucked out. He didn't look like he had any trouble. He came in at 261, and Volkov weighed in at 247. He looked a little bit flabby, so Blaydes is going to have a large size advantage here, and we know he's going to be grappling. He tweeted out the other day that if you're tuning in for a striking match, you'll be sorely disappointed. All he's going to do is ragdoll his opponent around that cage. We know that already. I've got Blaydes mixed into a parlay, and this doesn't change my mind whatsoever. When you see them at the weigh-ins, Volkov has a huge size advantage height-wise. However, in my opinion, that only helps Blaydes. Blaydes is going to be able to get under those hips. He's going to be able to get to those legs and get that takedown just that much easier, and Volkov's going to have a hard time staying low enough to stop it. So that doesn't change whatsoever here. I like Blaydes. I like Blaydes a lot to get this thing done. I don't know if he finishes Volkov. Volkov's a tough SOB, but I think Blaydes destroys him over the course of 25 minutes. That's it for your weigh-in recap. Good luck on your action this weekend. Hit me up on Twitter at DieHardMMAPod. Make sure you subscribe to the Die Hard MMA Podcast and odds.com. We will keep the content rolling to you. Once again, good luck on your action. Let's cash some of those tickets and let's roll.